everyone, welcome to another episode of Understories with me, your host, Lindsay Fowler. This week is our last episode before we take a break for the summer. It's been a really fun season and we've met some really inspiring and brilliant creatives who've been so generous with their time and with their stories about becoming entrepreneurs. As a final send-off, this week is a catch-up between me and Kat, my esteemed colleague at Cloudfields. We've had quite a wild journey these first 6 months of 2024, so we talk about that. We go into why we're going to try to de-ickify the term consultant, and then we go off on some tangents that range from Kat's love of mantrailing with her dog Siccario to crockery that is made out of poo. Yes, we went there. Before we get started, if you like this podcast, please give us a rating or review wherever you're watching or listening to this. Tell a friend, and don't forget to subscribe so that you get notified about future episodes. As I mentioned, this is our last episode of season 1, but we're back the 3rd of September with new seasons and some brilliant new guests. And now, over to me and Kat. Okay, so actually, I'm recording, but it's okay. We'll edit this out. So, how do you want to start it?
Again, what did you say?
How do you want to start? How do you want to start it?
So I've prepared some rapid fire questions for you so that we can warm up for the conversation later.
Okay.
If that's okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. All right. So, let's listen. Well, Kat, here we are. Understories episode 18. We've done 18 episodes since we started in November, which is slightly insane. But I was thinking the last time we did a chat like this was at Christmas last year.
Yeah, just before Christmas. That's right.
Yeah. So it's been 6 months, and it's been quite a ride, I think, is a nice way to put it.
Yeah. How do you feel about the past 6 months?
I mean, I don't know if I said this to you the other day, but I feel like I am really tired of learning things. Growth is a core value for me, but I am really tired of having to learn so much at the moment. It just feels really exhausting. I'd like to just be like, learning how to crochet. I don't really want to be learning about the art of sales and outreach and business development as hardcore as I've been doing it the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? How has it been for you?
Yeah, I would say a roller coaster, right? Quite a lot of things we kind of planned for, or we set some
We're
goals.
ambitious.
Yeah, I think we're pretty high.
Yeah.
Around Christmas. Yeah, very ambitious. So, but I guess there is always some ups and downs. So looking forward to the next 6 months, let's say.
Yeah, I think it's been.
Hopefully.
I think. Yeah. No, I think we should probably give people some context about what we're talking about, because we've.
Mm-hmm.
So Kat and I came into this year very ambitious, and have done a huge amounts of outreach and conversations with people. And I mean, I've had so many conversations with so many fabulous people, including on this podcast, just about business and about work and, I don't know, life in general. And but the thing that kept kind of getting us stuck was the fact that we really struggled to describe what we did. And effectively, I mean, we're all the same. People are lazy. They just want to understand what you do. And if we had to, I think probably up until we started working with Emma Keat at Free Projects, who, by the way, if anyone needs brand strategy, she's amazing. But before we started working with her, I think we talked in metaphor a lot, right? About what we did. We're like, oh, we're like Sherpas, or we're like therapists, or I can't remember. We had so many different metaphors for what we were doing, but it's like, people just be like, well, what do you do? So we were like, and we didn't want to be called consultants because we were like, oh, that sounds really lame and boring. So we went on definitely on an adventure the last 6 months, trying to explain to people what we did, but we just kept trying to avoid being clear, which is interesting in itself. because we're all about clarity.
And especially that's something what we do so well for our clients, right? But somehow the lack of objectivity when it comes to our business really kind of made a barrier for us.
I mean, I don't think anyone can be objective about their own business, though. I think that's why consultants, I mean, that's why they're beneficial in some ways, because they give that third perspective. But yeah, I definitely think like, yeah, I'm definitely not objective about it. But I think.
But what is it about? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry to jump in, but I'm just wondering, like, what it is about the, word consultant that we are so.
That makes us go, ugh.
But yeah.
I think it's because consultants have a bad reputation. I think that consultants generally, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily true across the board, but I think a lot of consultants have the reputation of going into a business, telling people what to do, and then leaving, and not really. There is value in that, because sometimes that, as we were saying, that third foot view is useful. But I think that it has a connotation with someone just being really expensive and really corporate. And I think we're definitely not corporate in that sense. It's like, I think and I think that's probably why we've been trying to kind of avoid it. It's like, we don't want to be associated with like that kind of suited and booted male dominated industry, let's be honest. Whereas, we're much more warm, and I think much more, I mean, that's a huge generalization, I should say. There's a lot of great consultants out there. We're working with some of them. You know what I mean? And this is the thing. I think it's like it's like the reputation versus the reality. So yeah. So I think it gave us an ick factor that we needed to. Well, it gave me an ick factor. I don't know if it gave you an ick factor, but I don't know. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day, and he was saying like, "Oh, he refuses to use the word consultant because he thinks it just puts people off." And I was like, I can't think of anything other way to describe it that people will understand.
Did he offer you any alternative? Because that's kind of what we've been working on, right? Together with Emma. Kind of finding the word.
Finding the verb. Because he went for, I think he went for creative business coach, which I get, but we're operators. Like, we understand the actual how of the strategy. So it's not like we're not we can coach, but we don't only coach.
Just coach. Yeah.
And I think that's where the conflict lies, right? Because we're like, oh, well, we don't just coach, or we don't just give you advice. We're like, oh no, we actually go and get stuck in. And I think that that's been the problem. We're trying to really, I don't know, be really clear that what we cover and like what we do. So yeah, it's I don't know. I think coaching is, and also I think coaching is kind of also a throwaway word, like consultant is these days too, because a lot of people are coaches. I mean, definitely during the pandemic, everyone became a coach, right? So it was slightly insane. So I think that was the other reason I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if that describes it so much.
Yeah, and it's also kind of difficult to find a coach who knows what they're talking about because of, years of experience or what they studied and all that sense. And someone who just decided, I'm gonna coach.
Yeah. And I think that's, I understand the desire to want to help people. I think that's really commendable and really honorable, right? Because I think people who became coaches recently, and a lot of them have came at it from that perspective. I think that's amazing. But I think to really give value to people, you don't really need to. There's knowledge and then there's experience, and I think that they're very different. They're useful things, but they're different, right? And so it's like, and I am the same. Like I've had knowledge about, I don't know, sales and marketing for 15 years, but to actually do it and have that experience of how it works is a very different level of knowledge. I feel like you start to experience it on like a cellular level, right? So, but yeah, there's some great coaches out there. I've had many great ones, and we're not coaches. Well, not only coaches.
Yeah.
But so I guess we're kind of But I think the irony, of course, is that we're going to reclaim the term consulting. We're going to go back to our own definition of what it means.
So can you tell me a bit more about that? What it actually means? What means like Lynn's way of consulting?
Lynn's way of consulting. Oh, well, I think consulting is, our version of it is less about being on the other side of the table as from someone. It's less about advice giving. It's more about sitting alongside them, partnering with them, collaborating with them, and really finding out what they want to achieve and then helping them and then taking action from that and actually building infrastructure for them to kind of help them get where they want to get to. I think that the how is as important as the why and the what you do, because if you don't put your strategy into action, it's just an idea. So that's, to me, that's what really good consulting is actually someone who really gets in the trenches with somebody and helps them get where they want to go. And I mean, I know that also it's really rewarding. I know that sounds like a strange thing to say, but it's really gratifying to see people that we've worked with or even just had like small conversations with, and and they'll send us a message 6 months later and be like, oh, this happened, and it's just really, it's great because you think, oh, there's a difference, we can make a difference with people and how they run their businesses and see themselves in their business. I think that's the other thing too. What is
this your favorite? Oh,
what were you gonna say? Go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, so is this the most favorite part of the job for you? This kind of satisfaction that comes later, that you can see that you've made a difference together with the client?
I mean, it's definitely rewarding. I wouldn't say it's my favorite bit, though. I think my favorite bit is trying to figure out how they tick and asking lots of questions and really starting to learn who they are as people and as founders and as creatives and as, I don't know, designers, and seeing how they approach their work. I also feel like for us, it's really more about the bespoke, so it's, this idea that people have to do it like everyone else isn't true. You just have to, we have that term operational scaffolding where you can basically like, okay, well, what do you want? Okay, so let's just build in the infrastructure to help you achieve that. And as opposed to being like, well, you have to do it like this and you have to do it like that, and then you'll get the results like everyone else gets. So, yeah.
But isn't it actually really difficult to know what you want? I mean, at least for me, it's hard to kind of make the decision, make the first step, like this is what I want, because suddenly you're facing the fear that, if it's not going to happen, you're going to be disappointed. So maybe staying in the unknown is kind of protecting you from that. I don't know, like, do you feel that getting the goal or like getting the why people, no, I forgot what I wanted to say.
No, I think I understand what you mean. It's like, if you don't really know what you want, how can you, is it much easier to just stay doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I just wonder, like, how do you help, or from your experience working with clients, like, is it easy for them to come to that conclusion? Or is it easy for you to know, what you want?
Oh, me in general? For me in general, what I want?
Yeah.
No, definitely not. I think that's the thing is but if I had someone talking to me and asking me questions about what I want, I would figure it out. I think it comes down to being comfortable. Well, okay, first of all, if you're going to have a business, you have to be comfortable with the unknown, 100%, because it's just, there's a lot of things that are outside of your control, right? So you have to be comfortable with the fact that not everything will work out, or some things will work out differently than you planned. But I also think that there's just a lot of power in just making a decision and seeing what happens, because I think we all do this. Like, I think we overanalyze what we want or what we want to do, and we think, oh, what if it's the wrong thing? But the reality is having something to point at gives you a sort of forward momentum. And I think that if you make that decision, it could be the wrong decision, but you won't know it until you get into that decision, and then you have more information, and then you can make a different decision. So I think that's it. It's like, just try not to stay in some sort of holding pattern and actually move forward. So, we've had people that we've worked with before who really had a hard time making a decision about stuff. And like, it's our job to be really gentle with that, because it is really hard and it's really scary. And just because, I think I'm the kind of person who's like, once I made a decision, I'm like, right, off we go. That's not for everybody. Right. And I wasn't always that way. I used to ask everybody I knew what I should do all the time. So I don't do that so much anymore. But yeah, I just think if you don't know what you want, you do want something. So even if it's short term, like, I just want to make more money. Okay, fine. Like, let's just move that 3 months in advance. Where would you want to be in 3 months? And then we can make a decision towards that. So that's it in my from my sort of limited experience of life. So yeah.
Well, not limited, I wouldn't say. You're underestimating your experience.
Yeah, probably. We all do it. What is your definition of management consultant now that you've been floating around cloud fields for 15 months?
Oh, 15 months.
I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, oh yeah, 15 months.
Oh yeah, I've been here for quite some time, actually.
Yeah.
Well, it definitely surprised me in a lot of ways, because when I was coming in, I had no idea about what consulting really is. And but I think it's really nice to arrive to the conclusion and make the decision. And maybe it's not going to be the right one, but just like now, the fact that we are reclaiming the work. And when, people ask me, what do you do? I'm happy to say that I work in a consultancy business. Because beforehand, for the past, 15 months, I wasn't really sure how do I describe what I do.
Yeah.
I work with creatives, so it's fun.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's really good to have, because I think it's really hard to describe, but once you're in it and you experience the transformation, and I'm experiencing it, of course, from the outside. I'm not on the client side, but just seeing how the client is, I guess, going through a change and growing up, and being there on their side, support them, cheer them. I guess that's what it's about. And whether it's about money, whether it's about operations, whether it's just about their struggles of growing the team, hiring the right person, I think being there for them is what it's about.
I think that is that thing is like, I think someone once said it was like a safety net. It's just knowing that there was someone there that was like to like kind of help them get through it. And I think that's the thing, is like, we're not, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's like, we don't know everything. We don't have all the answers, right? But I think simply just that act of asking for someone their ideas can help you get more clarity on your own ideas. I mean, we've experienced this ourselves. Definitely. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to go ask somebody. And then they're like, well, why don't you do this one? You're like, no, I don't want that. Okay, now I know what I want.
Yeah, exactly. It's giving you some kind of, I guess, wall against.
Yeah.
You can stop and see, like, do I like? It's like when you throw a coin. Like, how do you feel after you see the result, right? So we can offer the solutions, and they might not like it, and it's fine. I mean, I really enjoyed the conversations when actually we come up with an idea, they might not like it, and then you arrive to a completely unique, bespoke solution for them, and they actually arrive to that.
Yeah. I always think a really good consultant is actually just a mirror. Because because we don't know what they want. We're just there to ask the right questions so that they can work it out themselves, right?
Yeah. And it's not our business, right? At the end of the day.
No, exactly. And so it's just that ability, being that sounding board, I think, to help. And I think that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. I love watching that unfold. It's really rewarding. It's really, really nice. So we're reclaiming management consulting for ourselves, and we're gonna own it. But I think what's the other thing is because we're kind of expanding what we're doing now, which is to kind of be a lot more operationally hands-on. How do you feel about that?
I think it's exciting because that gives us the opportunity to be there for more people and really influence how they're feeling about their business. And make sure that even when they're at the start of their business journey, they'll have the sounding board or they have the hands-on that they might lack. And to make sure that from the start, they're gonna set up something that can really work and can grow because they're gonna do it the right way.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for, isn't it? Yeah, it's definitely. I think I've said this before, probably on another podcast, probably to you about a billion times. But I really think running your own thing gives you far more empathy. Well, it's given me, I should say. I should just be specific to myself. It gives me far more empathy to what everyone else is dealing with, because this is insanely hard, and I don't think people talk about it enough. How hard it is. I don't think they talk enough about how emotionally complicated it can be. Quite lonely, yeah, for sure. I think like not having anyone to talk to about stuff can be really hard. I mean, I experience this a lot. I mean, I'm quite lucky because my husband is like a business geek with me, so we chat about this stuff a lot, and I think that makes a difference. But if I didn't have him, I don't know who I would talk to about it, because it's very you're just constantly in your head and you never stop thinking about it, which is fun and annoying all at once.
So how do you clean your head?
How do I clean my head? Well, I practice transcendental meditation. I learned it 5 years ago, and it's made a big difference in my outlook on life. It's also helped me. I don't know. I think it just helps me think a little bit more clearly, and I can really tell when I'm more confused and frustrated is when I haven't been meditating enough. And it's not like a chanting omi, I don't know, spiritual practice. It's much more about rest and allowing. Like, I think what's different about TM is that it they say sometimes in meditation, when you're meditating, that you let your thoughts, just move on to the next thought, But actually, I think with TM, what I like about it is they treat that as like stress relief. And so when thoughts come up, they're like, welcome the thought, just, oh, hello thought. And then and by doing that, it actually helps you process and reduce stress in your body. And that really helps. So, but I feel a bit nerdy talking about it, because I'm like, I'm like, oh God, I'm going to start, like, people who run a startup who meditate and have a whoop and drink AG1 and it's embarrassing. No, yeah. But I think I'm excited for the next 6 months. I think it'll be good. How do you clear your thoughts, Kat?
I think for me, it's very much about movement. So going outside, whether it's walking, running, and in general being surrounded by nature. I think that kind of calms me down and offers another perspective, maybe.
Yeah, there's something about being in nature that gives you, I don't know, you just start, nothing seems as important when you're wandering around in the woods.
Yeah.
I mean, I think.
I was.
Okay, sorry. No, it's okay.
No, sorry. Yesterday I was wandering around woods, and a storm came. And that's, I guess, when you can see that, the nature's got the power and you're just a very tiny thing.
You're a pawn in nature's nature's game. Yeah, because I think one thing people don't know about you is that you do man sniffing with Siccario.
Yes.
Man trailing with your dog. I'm like, man sniffing. You go and sniff men with your dog. Can you tell people about that? Because I think this is such an interesting hobby.
Yeah, so it's searching for people based on their individual sense. That's quite something funny and something I had no idea up until 3 years ago, that we all smell differently. I mean, of course, I know that,
Yeah.
but for the dogs, it's on much, much more granular level, and they can really distinct someone's smell. Um, and it's not just about, oh, you use a very strong perfume, but your kind of just your body and just the fact that you walk around, you are leaving traces of your scent. So parts of your body is actually staying there and the dogs can follow it. And I mean, I think the coolest thing about it, and one of the reasons why I do it is actually, observing something that you like can't comprehend, because we as humans, we can like distinguish between chili and curry, but seeing the dog actually taking the right trail and finding the person at the end of it is really something out of this world. So
yeah, that's amazing. How did you get into that though? Because I mean, did you just come across it one day and thought, oh, I'm just going to start doing this?
No, so and I even was asked, like, you're the boxer, like, why do you do mantrailing? Because that's not very common breed for mantrailing. I mean, the most common one is bloodhound. That's kind of where it all started. Very funny big dog. But the reason I found it is that, and I think that that's a very nice kind of maybe also metaphor for our lives, is so my dog used to have a lot of problems when I mean, we all have problems, and he still got his problems. But I mean, he was a very, very crazy puppy. He was scared of everything. He was scared of everyone. But at the same time, he really wanted to explore the world. Like, you could tell that there is this clash inside of him. Like, I really wanna like meet this person, go outside, explore the woods. But at the same time, I'm also really scared. And I had no idea what to do about it. And then I was, of course, researching, and I found that when you let the dog do something that's so natural to them, which for them is, of course, sniffing, because they just go outside, and it can be any dog, it doesn't matter about the breed. But if you think about, where they are coming from, even just the simple like search for food, they would just be running in the woods. And if they smell something nice, if they smell some meat, they just follow the trail. So offer them in, because we kind of restrict them and want them to live our lives, right? Like live with me in the city and walk on a pavement, pee on a concrete. So offering them, allowing them to do something so natural to them might actually help them balance their kind of mental state and get them some confidence and kind of, in a sense, I think it works in the same way as meditation or for us, doing some kind of sport, something where you can kind of feel content with yourself. And so because of a crazy dog, that's how I found out about it.
I love that. There's something about naturalness, right? And being in a natural state. Because meditation talks about, like the TM group talk about that as well, as about like being in your natural state. Because rest breeds naturalness, I think is how they put it. Or like, but it's like being in a natural state where you're not full of anxiety, you're not full of worry and stress, and you're kind of just doing what feels most natural to you. Is when we are in our, I think it's probably when you get into a flow state, or you're probably just feeling more like content in yourself.
Yeah.
I love that. It's so funny how these things pop up in different places. Like, they'll completely, you got meditation on one hand and mantrailing on the other, and they're just still saying the same thing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, I guess something about the float, kind of being like not noticing the time and not noticing what's around you, because I wonder what's so natural for us. Like for the dogs, it's sniffing, right? But what is that fundamental thing for us as humans? I don't know.
I don't know. That's a really good question. I mean, they say human beings, we're human beings, not human doings, right? So maybe a natural state for us is just being, I don't know, present. I don't know. But I think it's really hard to do that nowadays, to just be.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, finding little pockets of that. But I mean, I guess it's, anything that makes you lose time, that, that I wonder if there's something there with, like, because each person has the thing that makes them get into flow, right? So it's, for dogs, it could be more singular than that, but maybe for humans, it's like, it's the thing that we feel our most truest self in when we're doing it or whatever. Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. I mean, for sure there is something. It's just hard to, again, like find the word, because maybe it's just not, as you're saying, singular thing. But yeah, I don't know. What about you?
Cooking, I think, is probably the thing that I definitely lose time in. It's the one thing that I think I've been doing it for so long that I feel like my favorite thing is to just
think about it.
I don't think about it. Yeah. And I think I've learned the principles of certain things, so I think that makes it easier to cook, like when you just go into your fridge and be like, oh, what am I going to do? What do we got? And kind of just pull something together. I think writing does that for me as well. I think writing for me is, I don't get to do it enough, but I think because I always have used writing to work out how I think. Because it's almost like a dialogue with myself when I'm writing things. But yeah, but I think, maybe it's like, it is actually the out moving for you. Like maybe it's like, I don't know, the sort of the
running around the woods.
Yeah. Trailing Sickie with you. He's like, come on, Mom, I want to go home. And you're like, nah, we're still out here.
Oh, yeah, I think he's sometimes actually less excited about it. I mean, he's very excited. He just gets tired, of course, because he does the hard work. I'm just flying at the end.
Yeah. So what are you most looking forward to for the rest of this year, in the second half of this year? Because we are like literally in the middle of the year. Like it's like we're recording this the 18th of June. Yeah. It's crazy.
I
She's
would
not
say
looking forward to anything.
No,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You're like, I hate it. Linds is such a nightmare. She's an emotional wreck.
I would say just putting, as you said, I think I've started to feel a bit tired of all this like search for the answer, and I'm just excited to put it all in action. All the kind of research, all the studying, all the learning, all the talking we've been doing in the past 6 months. And actually just, like start bringing more clients in, testing this new way of helping people, and start seeing, I guess, different what it does for them and for their businesses.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm the same. I think it's like, okay, enough talking, let's get started. I think we've always said that with people. It's like, okay, we can talk about stuff for like ad infinitum, but actually it's like taking the step to actually start doing it is really like where the sort of you putting your money where your mouth is, in a sense, as they say. Yeah. But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens. Like, oh God.
100%. Yeah, it's been full of surprises, I guess, the past 6 months. And we were saying, I think that last year was quite transformative, but I'd say that this year already feels way more transformative than the past one. I mean, you mentioned it at the beginning of the conversation that you've made 18 podcasts, recorded 18 podcast episodes. So is there anything or anyone that stood out?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, I think they've all been really great conversations, if I'm honest. I think this is the thing, is like everybody's got a really interesting story to tell. And I think that it's what's really fun is like letting people kind of start telling it, and then they kind of lose themselves a little bit in the story, in their story. I think like gosh, that's really hard to. I really enjoyed the conversation with Fettel, which was one of the early, like I think it was like the third one we did.
It was the third, maybe.
Yeah. But it was really interesting because I recorded that, and it was like I had 2 podcasts that day. They were the second. I was absolutely exhausted, and also I just found out that my daughter had lice, which was just like horrible. And I still managed to do the pod and actually come across relatively human about it. But I really loved talking to them because I thought it was really interesting to hear them talk about how they build like an international business between, at a small design firm. Love them. I really enjoyed the conversation with Natalia Velocevic. I thought, the photographer from Rotterdam, I thought she's such an interesting person. Her story is so fascinating. They've all been really, really good, I think. Yeah, but I am looking forward to a break for sure.
Yes, I can imagine a lot of talking you've done in the past month.
Yeah.
But is there something that inspired you maybe for your own business, like their maybe tips or their challenges, experiences, learnings, and you were like, oh, this is really good. Let's implement it.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think so, if I'm totally honest. But I think what it's done is I think it's kind of showed me that everyone is really trying to figure it out. Everyone's trying to kind of figure it out in the best way that they can, and trying different things. And I think especially as creatives, it's like we're just trying to build something that we love and that will sustain us financially and creatively. and to find the different ways that people have done that. It was kind of the point of this podcast, is actually looking underneath the hood of like actually how underneath the hood. My God, I haven't said that in like forever. That's such an American phrase. Looking under the bonnet of a business, and actually seeing how what kind of structure they're putting in to kind of figure things out, to facilitate them to be able to do what they want to do. So I think that's probably been the best bit. And also there's some solidarity with that, right? That actually everyone's trying to figure it out, as opposed to some person's holding the keys for how to do this really well. And actually when you look at it, really, it's not the case. There's multiple ways to do different things well. So yeah.
Even the same thing, right? It's interesting how everyone finds their own path, even though the product or the end result is more or less the same, at least type of the thing, not the same thing.
Yeah.
But how they get to that is always very unique.
Yeah. I always love that when people are like, oh, no, we don't have a process. We can't systematize our creativity. I'm like, yeah, you can. It's what? No. Like, yeah, you can. Like, you do it the same pretty much every single time, but you'll do your own twist. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think I feel like, we've done 18 podcasts. We've done lots of conversations outside of this. We've met really cool people. So now, as you say, it's going out there and hands on, getting stuck in. Yeah.
Is there any type of, I'm not going to say like a specific business, but maybe a type of business you'd like to get on Understories? Like kind of maybe some type of a creative venture that you haven't explored.
To get on Understories, to get someone to come in. Oh yeah. Oh my God, there's loads. I would love to have a food founder. I would love to speak to them, because I would probably be super annoying and just ask them loads of questions about their food. I would love to speak to someone who works in the music industry and kind of looks at those side of things. Yeah, I mean, I would love to speak to someone who's doing something creative in sustainability. Do you know what I mean? I think that creativity is not necessarily, only, entitled to the creative industry, end quote, but there's lots of people doing really fascinating things. So I remember a couple of years ago, I went to Dutch Design Week, and there was someone who was making plates and like crockery out of shit, basically. No, it was amazing. And it was all obviously, no, I think it was animal.
Oh, okay.
But it was basically, they cleaned it, and it didn't smell, but they did a way of, they treated it
you bake it, right? So
yeah, you bake it. Yeah, it's like they treated it like terracotta, and it was really interesting to see it, and like and actually how sturdy it was, and what you could do with it, and someone like that. That's a really fascinating thing. Like, how on earth did you decide to like start making crockery out of cow shit? I don't know how you do that, but that's what's interesting, right? Because that's why I'm like, I think people are so fascinating. So yeah, there's better examples, I'm sure, of people doing interesting things. So yeah.
I wonder what else you can do from shit. I'm pretty sure someone's building houses from it, no?
Yeah, there's a woman here who's doing, she's making bricks out of it. Yeah. And it's really interesting. Like, what I think it was at, she presented at a Dutch, what design can do a couple years ago here in Amsterdam. And, it was interesting because they did this whole thing in the afternoon where people were pitching their businesses, and the judges were great. They were really, supportive and really open about what people were trying to do. But one woman, I can't remember where she was from, one of the judges said, this is all really great that everyone's dealing with the problem of waste. She said, but nobody's talking about the fact that we're creating all this waste. Like, what are people, there's nobody in this, like, pitching for jobs, or, pitching for funding or whatever they were doing, that's talking about actually how to
not even create the waste. I mean, we all need to poop, I guess.
Yeah, that's treated separately. Everybody poops, like the children's book says. Amazing. This is amazing.
Oh, like what to eat so you don't have to poop so often.
Oh no, but I even think more than that. It's like,
Oh yeah,
this
it's
one
not just
woman.
about poop. Yeah.
No, it's not just about poop. But there was this woman that was talking about she was taking hair from hair salons and making clothing out of it.
Uh-huh.
And there was a real ick factor with that. Like people were like,
yeah. Oh, recently I had this conversation like how, you feel disgusted when you find someone's hair in the plate, like when you're in a restaurant.
Yeah.
But not when, like, in pretty much whatever I eat, there's just dog hair. And I'm like, oh, my dog.
God.
So cute.
Lovely. Oh yeah, because your dog sheds, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he does shed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's something you actually don't deal with.
No. Well, he's at the groomer today, but yeah. This might need to be edited out. Anyway.
Well, I mean, you said you are not afraid of using swearing words on our website.
I'm not.
So,
I'm absolutely not.
let's be real. Even in our podcast.
Yeah. This is us, folks. This is what Kat and I talk about when we're not talking about your businesses. We talk about our dogs and pooping. Anyway, you said at the beginning of this you had some quick fire questions for me. What were they? Have you asked me them?
We totally skipped them.
Oh.
Well, I'll start with some easy ones.
Okay.
What was your first job?
What was my first job? My first job, when I was employed, well, my first job is I was entrepreneurial. I drew pictures and sold them around my neighborhood when I was 7 or so, I think. But my first,
brilliant.
Yeah, my first proper job.
So actually, the entrepreneurship was in you always.
Yeah, it must have been. Yeah, I remember.
But you just detoured.
Yeah, I went on a massive detour. Now I remember I would like draw a picture, and if I thought it was really good, I would price it higher. So I would give it like 25 cents. This is the 80s, so 25 cents was a lot of money for an 8-year-old at the time.
Pricing.
Yeah, always. And then, but if I thought it was okay, I would like maybe mark it down a little bit. Or if it was small, I'd mark it down a little bit. So yeah. But no, my first real job was there's in the States, they have this, in some states in the United States, they have a thing where you collect pop cans or soda cans and you can get a 5-cent return on them. So I worked in a supermarket that collected cans. So I would count cans for people. I was a shop girl, like I worked in a supermarket thing. And I found some very interesting things in people's pop cans and beer cans. It was quite special. Found really weird things. But it was a really fun job. I loved it. And it was like, I worked there for like 2.5 years, I think, something like that.
Oh, wow.
When I was in high school. Yeah. Because I was in, yeah, well, the reason I did it was because I was an athlete in school, in high school and in middle school. But the summer between my junior and senior year of high school, I tore my ACL playing basketball. So I kind of ended my sports career. And so I needed something else to fill my time with. So I got a job. So that was what I did it for. So yeah, it must have been like 18 months, 2 years, something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So otherwise you'd be a basketball player?
No, I would have been a volleyball player. I would have been a volleyball
player. Okay.
Yeah, that was the sport I loved. And actually, I still have dreams about playing it sometimes, which always make me feel very emotional. Yeah. Yeah, I loved it. It was a great sport.
Maybe you should join a club in Amsterdam.
I can't jump anymore. I'm like I'm like a non-impact sport person. I do Pilates and yoga and like lift weights. I'm like, there's no sports anymore. Middle age is approaching. Yeah.
Interesting. Did you learn something during your art studying career that actually is helpful now?
Did I learn anything in my art studies?
Art studying career? No, when you were studying the paintings.
Oh, when I was little.
Yeah.
I think, when you're that age, you have just that wonderful ego that children have, right? Where they just are really full of self-belief. And I think what it actually taught me was that I think I lost that self-belief.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that confidence in your own, in the value of what you do. And I think, I think I'm still learning how to bring it back. Like it's one of those things that, I think your experience in your life and all that stuff can make a difference. And how you see yourself. So it's an interesting one that I always think about that kid though. I'm like, drawing pictures and selling it to the neighbors. I mean, can you imagine like a little 7-year-old blonde child rocking up to me like, do you want to buy my picture? I mean, you'd be like, yeah, of course. I'm going to spend 25 cents on it. Yeah.
Well, it's not like we want to now employ children, to...
Oh, no. No. Also, they're
not supporting,
child labor.
Children labor.
No. I was doing it on my own volition. My mom wasn't like, go out and make some money for the family. So it was anything like that. Oh, but anyway, yeah. So we've got about maybe, I don't know, 5 more minutes left. Is there anything else that you want to ask me?
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee or tea? Oh, coffee, 100%.
So you were not really Anglicized over your 20 years in England.
Oh no, I love tea, but I love coffee more. It's the thing I look forward to the most every morning.
Not seeing your husband.
I mean, after all that, all of the normal things, and I'm like, coffee.
Black or white?
Black coffee. I used to drink white coffee, and then I started doing intermittent fasting because for whatever reason, and I just started drinking black coffee, and now I love it. So, yeah.
Solo entrepreneurship or employment?
For me?
Yes.
Entrepreneurship, but not solo. I think business is a team sport. Yeah. There's no fun doing it on your own because who do you have to share it with otherwise? So, yeah, in my opinion, some people love it, but not for me. Yeah.
Learning by reading or by doing?
Both. But it goes back to what we were saying earlier about knowledge and experience, right? It's like you can read about stuff in a book. And I think I saw Chris Do talking about this the other day about how, like, if you read a book and, you take down what you know from it and then you kind of synthesize it and work it out. And I'm like, that's great. That's like great to know that knowledge. But until you actually put it into action and experience what it's like to do it, you don't really understand it. You understand it in the mind. You don't understand it in like the heart, if that makes sense. If you don't really know it. So yeah, I mean, I'm an avid reader. I love books and I love reading about business and hearing ideas from people and stuff like that. But I think the most experience and the most benefit I've had is through experience. Yeah.
So are you more thinker or feeler?
Oh, I'm definitely a feeler. Yeah. IFTJ, I think I am. Something like that. Like, yeah, IFT something. Yeah, I'm definitely a feeler for sure. To my detriment. Yeah.
Do you think it's detrimental to be a feeler?
It can be. Yeah, I think it can be because, being emotional is an amazing thing and I love it. But sometimes I just wish I could switch it off because it would make me probably much more ruthless in a sense. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but I think that my sensitivity I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, but I just feel like it can work against me sometimes. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's not like I would be the other.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely positives and negatives, I'd say.
Yeah. With everything there's a set. Yeah, for sure. So anyway, well, this is it for Understories. We are taking a break for the summer. We'll be back in September with some really cool guests we've got lined up already. So yeah, thanks for everything so far this year, Kat. And here's to the next 6 months.
Yes. Wish us luck.
Yeah, wish us luck. Woohoo! Well, folks, that's a wrap from Kat and me. We wish you all a wonderful summer, and we're looking forward to seeing you again in September. The first episode of Season 2 will drop on the 3rd of September. Once again, if you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, share with a friend, all those sort of things, so you can be notified when we're back and back at it. Until then, be well. Understories was produced by Cloudfields and Kieran Fowler. The music is by Aviz, and the branding is by Joe Jones. See you in September.